Okie dokie, boys and girls, it is day 266 of bulking to 75 kilos with calisthenics only, and today we have a hamstring day. Now, yesterday, it was a squat day and it was a complete failure. If you watched, you'll know I was not able to reach my goal of 10 sets, 4 reps with 44 kilos on the pistol squat. But what I was able to do instead was lower the weight to 28 kilos and do 6 reps. And I was just thinking about it like, that's still a fucking PR. Even though plan A didn't succeed, there was still plan B, and I PR'd, but I was only able to PR on the pistol squats because there's one other PR that I cherish the most, one other PR that I put in front of all the others, which is consistency. And consistency is the PR that you should, regard as the most important, you should cherish the most because no matter how you feel, no matter how shit you feel, no matter what situation you're in, it's your choice to improve it or to just let it slip. If you track, the amount of days or the amount of weeks that you're consistent in your training, and that does not mean, to be perfect, but that does mean that if you plan to train, right, if you tell yourself like, oh fuck, today I have to train or tomorrow I have to train, that you're gonna fucking do it, not, you know, have these random rest days because you're not feeling up to the task. If you can keep that consistency, it's gonna lead to all other PRs. And even if you're staying consistent for a while and there are no other PRs that you are hitting, your progress is lacking. By staying consistent, you're forcing yourself to problem solve. You're forcing yourself to figure out what the hell is going on, what am I doing wrong, how can I improve from here. And many people, if they plateau, they lose their motivation, and it's kind of this circle. You're going in circles because you're not hitting PRs, you're losing motivation, you're training even less, and you're hitting even less PRs. While if you force yourself to stay consistent, force yourself to train even if you don't feel like it, eventually something's gonna click. Something's gonna click, and you're gonna get back on track. So yeah, consistency. The amount of time that you can stay consistent, that's not the only PR you should aim for, but that's the most important one. You should protect that one at all costs, because not only is it just going to lead to PRs in general, but also it's going to change your mindset. If you stay consistent for a long while, for example, I've been running for almost 500 days in a row right now. I think I'm at 497 days of running in a row. Like, I think of that, I'm like, holy fucking shit. You know, I showed up every day for 497 days, training every day. I think it's like 110 days less, so 387, I guess. I showed up for more than a year, every day, every fucking day. That tells you something. That tells you that even if things are going to shit, you can get out of the situation by just showing up. And that's the fucking truth. That's the PR that you can improve every day. So today is going to be hamstrings. I'm coming back from like a little overuse injury, but nonetheless, I am doing these longer sets now to have less pressure on my hamstring at one time, but at the same time, the sets are a bit longer, so I'm able to smash some endurance PR in the process. Last time I did 5 sets of 12 finger assisted Nordic curls with the index finger. Today I'm gonna try and do 5 sets of 14. The numbers don't really matter, but it's just the fact that even though the progression is easier, I'm still able to, I'm doing it consistently, I'm training consistently, and within that easier progression, there are still other PRs to pick up. So that's quite fun, that's quite exciting. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing today. I'm gonna head outside and do the index finger Nordic curls, which is basically a progression to the Nordic curl, right? I'll explain that in a moment once I've done some sets. Fuck. Alright, 14 reps. That's tough already, but if you want to learn the Nordic curl, if you want to just get some horsepower in your legs, I would recommend to just start out doing finger assisted reps, finger assisted half reps. Start by assisting with 2 fingers, then 1 finger, your index finger, then move to your pinkies, And once you start able to do that for like 8 to 10 reps, you can move on to the next progression. And if you get to your pinkies, you can even start doing full reps. So once you get to your pinkies, go back to your 2 fingers, start doing full reps, do it with 1 finger, start doing full reps. And eventually, you'll be able to not use your fingers anymore, you'll be able to do negatives and get to the Nordic curl, which if you can do the Nordic curl, you'll build some strong hamstrings for every other movement. So yeah, 4 more sets left here, 14 reps. That's gonna be fucking difficult. Let's see what happens. Oh. Oh. Fuck yeah. 1 more set. Oh, this is insane. Alright. Fuck yeah. That's 5 sets done. The point of failure really occurs at the top. When you release the fingers and suddenly all of the weight is on your hamstrings, it feels fucking insane. Holy shit. The pump is immaculate right now. But I think I'm gonna do 2 more sets of just half reps, I'm not gonna release my fingers, I'm gonna stay at the bottom half with my pinkies and try to do some reps that way. Because in the end, the most difficult part of the Nordic curl is at the bottom. So that's where you want to spend at least a big portion of your training to just get stronger, So I'm gonna use my pinkies as assistants and do some reps like this. It's gonna look like pinky push-ups, but in fact, my hamstrings are the ones being killed. So 2 more sets of that, I think, will be good, depending on how it goes, how much energy I have left. And then, yeah, that will be a satisfying workout. Fucking hell. 4 reps is the limit at the moment, but I think that's okay. And most of all, I'm not feeling pain, so very happy with this. 1 more set. What I'm trying to do here is on the way up, I'm helping myself with my fingers, and on the way down, I'm slowly trying to release my fingers while keeping the tension in my legs, So it looks like I'm just helping myself down with my legs, but actually my legs are trying to keep myself up while I'm removing the assistance. So it's kind of like a negative. Alright, 3 reps only. That was my limit though. Let's not go overboard with drop sets and stuff like that yet. Okie dokie, that's it for today's training, and with that my consistency PR has been improved. Actually, not completely yet, because I'm gonna go back outside and do some rehab or prehab exercises for my feet, so that I have strong feet to run. Because, when this bulk is over, I'm gonna run a lot, so I want to prepare for that. And once that is over, my consistency PR will have been improved for the day. 1 more check in the calendar, and tomorrow it's just the same thing over and over again. I mean, that's how you improve the consistency PR, For me, training daily, of course, it's not a must, right? If you're very busy or you just don't care that much about training, you don't have to train every day. Training every day is not necessary to make gains. You can make gains training once a week, But for me, the point of training every day is just to keep it printed in my mind that every day, no matter what, there is something that you can do, it's like what I mentioned with the injury, right? Many people, or but not just many people, what I used to do when I was injured is I just used to fucking, quit there and leave this wide open space of emptiness that I was just not using anymore, I was just slacking off, and my mind would wander away from, being locked in, so to speak. I would not, I would lose the ability to basically put in effort, right? And training every day makes sure that if that's the requirement, you are focused every day on what's possible. And by being focused on what's possible and executing it, your your worldview just becomes so much wider, that there is so much more perspective. Because if you're training yourself to see what you can do in training, you're going to be, training yourself to see what you can do in general life as well. Or at least, that's my experience. But, that's why to me, the consistency PR is the most important one. And if for you, you want to train once a week, that's great. Your consistency PR is going to be on a weekly basis. How many weeks did train on end? How many weeks were you not skipping? How many, weeks were you present on that one day? That's the important part, It's not the frequency, but just, keeping consistent with the promise you made yourself. And of course, someday it's gonna change, right? Someday you're gonna change from a certain frequency of training to another frequency, or you're just gonna switch from one kind of training to another. Maybe you're switching from 3 days to 2 or 3 days to 4. Maybe you're switching from strength training to endurance training, right? Sometimes your goals are gonna change, your training is gonna change, but within that, you're gonna tell yourself, well, from now on, I'm gonna do this new thing. Well, you can keep your consistency PR going by just doing that new thing and keeping yourself to it, even on the days that you don't feel like it. Don't get me wrong, today I felt like training, but it's just something that came up in my mind, yesterday when I was struggling to sleep because my legs were so fucking tired, If you really have a difficult leg day, your legs will be so tired that you're not able to fall asleep. That's what I had yesterday. So I had a lot of time to think about stuff, and yeah, that's something that just popped up in my mind. But yeah, that's it for today's training, and I'll see you tomorrow for a push day, which it's not gonna be push-ups yet because my chest is still sore. But nonetheless, I'm gonna find something fun, something useful, and be present. Do another check mark in the consistency PR. So let's go. I'll see you then.